The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wide enough to hold 10,000 beings. Floating platforms carried representatives from 800 species, each one different from the next. Some breathed water, others plasma. Some had wings, others had tentacles. But today, all eyes turned to the center platform where Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone. She was human. A species that had joined the galaxy 200 years ago with open hands and peaceful words. Her dark hair was tied back and her face showed no emotion as she listened to the accusations. Warlord Krethax rose from his platform. He was Zarkonian, with a body like a massive insect covered in black armor. His forearms spread wide as he spoke, his voice booming through translators. "I stand before this council to announce a great victory," Krethax declared. "The Zarkonian Empire has claimed 3 human colony worlds, New Terra, Harmony Station, Eden's Promise. All are now ours." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The holographic displays showed images of destroyed cities, burnt fields, and empty streets. 40 million humans had lived on those worlds. Now they were gone. The humans spoke of peace, Krethax continued, clicking his mandibles in what passed for Zarkonian laughter. They spoke of diplomacy and trade. But when we came with our fleets, they did nothing. They ran like prey animals. The humans are weak. They are soft. They do not deserve their place among the stars. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. The Eldari, an ancient race of energy beings, dimmed their lights in what might have been worry. The Morthian collective, beings of living crystal, vibrated at frequencies that suggested concern. They knew something. Something old. Sarah Chen remained still. Her hands did not shake. Her breathing did not change. She simply watched the warlord finish his speech. "I challenge humanity now before all the galaxy," Krethax shouted. "Show us your strength. Show us you deserve respect, or admit you are nothing but words and empty promises." The council turned to Sarah. She stepped forward, her shoes making soft sounds on the platform. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but every being in the chamber heard her. "The council will have humanity's official response in 72 hours, she said. "Until then, I request this session be adjourned." 72 hours to show your cowardice, Krethax mocked. Sarah looked at him then. Really looked at him. For just a moment, something flickered in her eyes, something cold and ancient and terrible. Then it was gone, and she was just a diplomat again. 72 hours, she repeated. The council agreed. What choice did they have? As the platforms began to disperse, the Eldari elder floated close to Sarah. "Ambassador Chen," the being whispered, its light pulsing nervously. "Please reconsider. We know what your species is capable of. We have seen your historical databases. What you plan to do?" "You should have warned the Zarkonians," Sarah replied softly. "You should have told them why humanity chose peace. We thought, we hoped, you had changed." "We did change," Sarah said, her voice barely audible. "We learned, we grew, we became better. But some lessons need to be taught more than once." Back on Earth, the message arrived in the middle of the night. The World Council gathered in Geneva, in the same halls where humanity had once decided to reach for the stars instead of reaching for each other's throats. President Zhao Chen read the report 3 times. The names of the dead, the images of the destroyed colonies, the mockery from the Zarkonians. "They don't know," one council member whispered. "They really don't know what we were. They know humans as we are now," another replied. "Peaceful, patient, kind. They don't know what we had to overcome to become this way." President Zhao looked at the others. These were people who had grown up in a golden age. 2 centuries of peace, 2 centuries of prosperity. War was something they read about in history books. Violence was something their ancestors had finally left behind. "Sarah has requested Protocol Omega," Zhao said quietly. "She believes it is necessary." The room fell silent. Protocol Omega, the failsafe, the option they hoped would never be needed. 40 million of our people are dead, one council member said, her voice breaking. "Our children, our families. They killed them to prove a point. If we activate Protocol Omega, the galaxy will see what we truly are," another warned. "Everything we have built, our reputation as peacemakers, it will all change." "Then let it change," Zhao replied. "We chose peace because we knew the alternative. We chose diplomacy because we mastered war. The Zarkonians have made their choice. Now we make ours." The vote was unanimous. Across Earth, across Mars, across the moon colonies and the asteroid habitats, the message went out. Every human received it at the same moment. 3 words that carried the weight of 10,000 years of history. Remember who we are. In museums, exhibits that had been closed for 2 centuries opened their doors. In schools, lessons that had been archived were suddenly required reading. In military academies that taught peacekeeping and humanitarian aid, old classrooms were unsealed. And in orbit around Earth, hidden among the commercial stations and the tourist platforms, other structures began to awaken. Structures that had been built in secret, maintained in silence, hoped to never be used, just in case. Admiral Marcus Stone stood in his garden when the message came. He was 150 years old, kept alive by modern medicine but retired for half a century. He had fought in the last war humans had waged against each other, the war that finally convinced them to stop. He looked at the roses he had been growing. Beautiful things, delicate things, things that could only exist in peace. Then he looked up at the stars. So, he said to the empty garden, they've forgotten. The galaxy has forgotten what made us choose peace in the first place. He walked inside and opened a closet that had been sealed for 50 years. Inside hung a uniform, black and gray with no bright colors, a uniform designed for function, not ceremony. Admiral Stone put it on. It still fit. In 72 hours, the Zarkonians would have their answer. The universe was about to remember. The transformation began at dawn. On Earth, the great monuments to peace remained standing, but now they were draped in black fabric. The Harmony Bell in Geneva, which had rung every day for 200 years, fell silent. The eternal flame of our reconciliation, lit after the last human war, was covered by a dark glass case. Children woke up that morning to find their parents different, quieter, harder. Eyes that had been soft with love now held something else, something calculating and cold. "Mom?" a young girl named Emma asked at breakfast. "Why do you look different?" Her mother touched her face as if surprised. "Do I, sweetheart?" "Your eyes. They're scary." Her mother knelt down and hugged her. "I'm sorry, baby. It's just, we have to remember some things we tried to forget. Things we hoped you'd never need to know." In schools across human worlds, the curriculum changed overnight. Classes on art and music were replaced with strategy and tactics. Teachers opened sealed servers and downloaded lesson plans that had been written centuries ago, preserved for a day they hoped would never come. Today, we learn about the Battle of Thermopylae, one teacher said, his voice strangely empty. 300 soldiers against 1,000,000. The 300 lost, but they made the 1,000,000 remember them forever. "Why are we learning this?" a student asked. "Because," the teacher replied, "sometimes being human means standing in a narrow pass and refusing to move, no matter the cost." Admiral Marcus Stone arrived at the Terran Defense Command to find it already humming with activity. The building, which had looked like a museum for decades, was now filled with people moving with purpose. Screens displayed star maps. Holographic projections showed fleet movements. The air smelled like metal and electricity. A young officer saluted him. She couldn't have been more than 30 years old. "Admiral Stone, sir. Welcome back." "Commander." He glanced at her name badge. "Commander Park." "Status report." "The shipyards have gone hot, sir. All of them. We have 7,000 ships ready to deploy immediately. Another 3,000 will be ready in 48 hours. Stone blinked. 7,000? But our registered fleet is only 200 vessels. Commander Park smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Those are the ships the galaxy knows about, sir. The peacekeeping vessels, the cargo haulers, the science ships. But we've been building others, quietly, in asteroid fields, in dark matter clouds, in places the galaxy doesn't look. For 200 years? For 200 years, sir. Just in case someone forgot why we chose peace." She pulled up a hologram. Stone stared at the ship designs. They were nothing like the friendly, rounded vessels humanity showed the galaxy. These were sharp, predatory, built for one purpose only. "We call them the Reaper class," Commander Park said. "Stealth capable, equipped with weapons based on technology we developed but never used. Until now." Stone studied the designs. His military mind, dormant for so long, was already analyzing, identifying strengths, finding weaknesses, planning deployment strategies. "Who designed these?" he asked. "You did, sir. Well, you and the other veterans. 50 years ago, before you retired, you all worked on contingency plans. You said humanity should never be caught unprepared again." Stone remembered. Late nights, difficult conversations. Veterans who had seen the worst of human nature trying to prepare for a peaceful future while planning for a violent one. "I'd hoped they'd never be needed," he said quietly. "We all did, sir." Across the galaxy, the Zarkonian Empire was celebrating. Warlord Krethax held a great feast in his palace, surrounded by his generals and war chiefs. They drank fermented nectar and boasted about their easy victory. "The humans did nothing," one general chittered. "They sent their ships away before we even arrived. Cowards, all of them." "Perhaps we should take more of their worlds," another suggested. "If they will not defend what is theirs, why should they keep it?" Krethax raised his cup in agreement, but his intelligence officer, a smaller Zarkonian named Vrektal, approached nervously. "My lord," Vrektal said, "I must report something disturbing." "What could disturb us on this glorious day?" Krethax demanded. "I have intercepted human communications, Lord. They are strange. They reference things I do not understand. Thermopylae protocols, Stalingrad defense, Hiroshima option. Meaningless words." Krethax waved a claw dismissively. "Perhaps, Lord. But I searched the human historical databases. These were battles from their past. Terrible battles. In one, called Stalingrad, they lost 1 million soldiers but refused to surrender. In another, called Hiroshima." Vrektal paused, his antennae trembling. "What?" Krethax demanded. "They used a weapon that destroyed an entire city in a single moment, Lord, and that was with primitive technology, thousands of years ago. I fear we do not understand what humans truly are." "You fear shadows," Krethax laughed. "The humans we know are soft, weak. They speak of peace and cooperation. They have no warriors, no battle spirit." But even as he spoke, Vrektal's datapad chimed. New information. He read it, and his compound eyes widened. "Lord," he whispered, "the human fleet has left Earth." "How many ships?" 10,000, Lord. Perhaps more. They appeared from nowhere. Our scouts report they move in formations we have never seen. Perfect coordination. Absolute silence on communication channels. They are heading toward our border." The feast hall fell silent. 10,000 ships. The humans supposedly only had 200. "Activate the border defenses," Krethax ordered, his voice no longer jovial. "Prepare our fleets. If the humans want war, we will show them what real warriors can do." But deep inside, in a part of his mind he did not acknowledge, Warlord Krethax felt something he had not felt in a very long time: fear. On the lead human ship, the TDFS Retribution, Admiral Stone stood on the bridge. Around him, officers worked in silence, their movements efficient and precise. No one spoke unless necessary. No one showed emotion. They were professionals, and they had work to do. "Admiral," Commander Park said, "incoming transmission from the Zarkonian border stations. They're demanding we turn back." "Response? None, sir?" "Correct. We do not negotiate. We do not explain. We simply do what must be done." Stone looked at the view screen, showing the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, the Zarkonians waited. They had killed 40 million humans. They had laughed about it. They had mocked humanity before the entire galaxy. They would learn their mistake. "Send one message," Stone said. "Broadcast it on all frequencies. Make sure every Zarkonian, every council member, every being in the galaxy hears it." "What should the message say, sir?" Stone's expression never changed. His voice remained calm, but his words carried the weight of 10,000 years of human history. "Tell them. You wanted to see humans angry. Now you will learn why we chose peace." The message went out across the galaxy, and the human fleet continued forward, silent and unstoppable, like a storm that had been building for 200 years. The lesson was about to begin. The first battle happened at Outpost Krell, a Zarkonian military station on the edge of their territory. 300 Zarkonian warships defended it, confident in their numbers and their armor. The human fleet arrived in silence. No war cries, no threats. They simply appeared from faster-than-light travel and began their work. General Vexitar commanded the Zarkonian defense. He watched his sensors in confusion as the human ships split into smaller groups, moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. "They're dividing their forces," his tactical officer reported. "This is foolish. We can destroy them piece by piece. Hold position," Vexitar ordered. Something felt wrong. Then the first human ship exploded. Just one ship destroyed in a brilliant flash. Then another. And another. Small human vessels were sacrificing themselves, their explosions creating massive electromagnetic pulses that blinded Zarkonian sensors. "What are they doing?" Vexitar demanded. "Why destroy their own ships?" The answer came seconds later. While the Zarkonians were blind, the main human fleet had repositioned. They appeared at point-blank range, weapons already firing. The Zarkonian formation broke apart, ships trying to scatter. But the humans had predicted this. Every escape route was blocked. Every defensive position was countered before it formed. It was as if the humans knew what the Zarkonians would do before they did it, because they did know. Humans had studied war for 10,000 years. They had fought each other across every terrain, in every environment, with every weapon imaginable. They had written books about strategy. They had created simulations. They had turned warfare into a science. The Zarkonians had been fighting for 300 years. Against the humans, they were children playing with toys they didn't understand. Outpost Krell fell in 40 minutes. The Zarkonian ships that survived fled in panic, broadcasting warnings to the rest of the Empire. In the Galactic Council chambers, the representatives watched the battle recordings in shocked silence. The humans had fought with a precision that was terrifying. No wasted movements, no hesitation, no mercy for military targets, but careful to avoid civilian casualties. They knew, the Eldari elder said quietly. They knew exactly what the Zarkonians would do. They predicted every move. "How is this possible?" a Morthian delegate asked. "Because humans don't just fight wars," the Eldari replied. "They study them. They learn from them. Every battle in their history is analyzed, recorded, turned into lessons. They have 10,000 years of warfare to draw upon." The next battle was at Krethax Prime, the warlord's own fortress world. Krethax gathered his entire fleet there, over 2,000 warships, the pride of the Zarkonian Empire. "Let them come," Krethax roared to his warriors. "We outnumber them. We have the stronger position. We will crush them against our defenses." Colonel Amara Okafor commanded the human assault. She was 40 years old, born in peace but trained in war. Her ship, the TDFS Perseverance, held position just outside Zarkonian weapons range. "Colonel," her communications officer said, "the Zarkonians are demanding we surrender or be destroyed." "Open a channel," Okafor ordered. Krethax's face appeared on the view screen, his mandibles clicking in anger. "You dare to challenge me at my own fortress?" "You are brave, but stupid, Warlord Krethax," Okafor replied calmly. "I want you to understand something. We didn't come here to defeat you. We came here to teach you." "Teach me? You arrogant." "We studied war for 10,000 years, Okafor interrupted. "You've played at it for 300. There is no scenario where you win. Surrender now and your warriors live. Refuse and we will demonstrate the difference between soldiers and warriors. I will mount your head on my wall." Okafor closed the channel. "All ship," she commanded. "Execute Operation Marathon." The human fleet didn't attack. They simply waited. Ships on rotating shifts, never sleeping, never stopping. Days passed. Weeks passed. The Zarkonians grew anxious. They launched probes. The humans destroyed them. They sent small attack groups. The humans annihilated them. They tried to break through the blockade. The humans were always there, always ready, never tired. Persistence, the defining trait of humanity. They could outlast anything. After 3 weeks, the Zarkonian fleet was exhausted. Their warriors needed rest. Their ships needed maintenance. But the humans never stopped watching, never stopped being ready. When Krethax finally ordered an all-out attack in desperation, the humans were waiting. The Zarkonian fleet flew straight into a trap that had taken weeks to prepare. mines hidden in debris, ships positioned with perfect firing solutions, escape routes that led into kill zones. The battle lasted 6 hours. 2/3 of the Zarkonian fleet was destroyed. The rest surrendered. But then something happened that shocked the galaxy even more than the battle. Krethax took hostages, civilian Zarkonians from his own planet, hundreds of them brought to his flagship, humans. He broadcast, "You value life, yes? You are peaceful, yes? Then let me leave or I will kill these innocents." The council watched, waiting to see what the humans would do. This was the test. Would their rage overcome their morality? Colonel Okafor's response was immediate. "Warlord Krethax, what you have done is a war crime under human military law. You have forfeited any claim to mercy. However, we do not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty." "Then let me go." "I said we don't punish the innocent." "I didn't say we'd let you go." 20 human ships moved forward. Krethax's flagship opened fire, but the human ships didn't shoot back. They took the hits, their shields flaring but holding. They got closer and closer. Then they attached to the Zarkonian flagship like parasites. Cutting tools began burning through the hull. "What are you doing?" Krethax screamed. "What we do best," Okafor replied. "The hard thing." Human soldiers poured into the ship. They fought room by room, corridor by corridor. They used non-lethal weapons near the hostages. They put themselves in danger to protect the civilians. Zarkonian civilians. It took 4 hours. 107 human soldiers died in the assault. But when it was over, 423 hostages were safe. And Krethax was in chains. The rescue had a 99.7% success rate. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. That night, Admiral Stone addressed the human fleet. The transmission was also sent to every council member, to every species in the galaxy. "We are human," Stone said simply. "We learned peace because we perfected war. We chose diplomacy because we mastered destruction. Every human alive carries the genetic memory of 10,000 years of conflict. We know every way to hurt, to kill, to destroy. And precisely because we know this, we choose not to." He paused, his old eyes hard. "But when someone forces our hand, when someone kills our people and mocks us for our mercy, we will show them what we are. We are the species that split the atom and then used it as a weapon. We are the species that poisoned our own air and then cleaned it. We are the species that nearly destroyed ourselves and then chose to become better. We are capable of terrible things, beautiful things, merciful things, cruel things. We contain multitudes, and that is what makes us human." The transmission ended. In the Galactic Council, the ancient species finally understood. Humanity wasn't peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they were strong enough to choose peace, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The lesson was learned. But it wasn't over yet. 5 years passed. The Zarkonian homeworld looked different now. Where military barracks once stood, there were schools. Where weapons factories had belched smoke, gardens grew. The new government, elected by the people, focused on education and trade instead of conquest. Former General Vrektal, now a civilian professor, taught history at the new University of Zarkonia. His students were young Zarkonians who barely remembered the Empire. "Today we study the human conflict," he said to his class. "The war that changed everything." A student raised her claw. "Professor, why do we call it the human conflict and not the Zarkonian War?" "Because," Rektal replied, "we started it, but the humans defined it. They showed us what war truly was, and more importantly, they showed us what it wasn't." He displayed images of the battles, but also of what came after. Human doctors treating wounded Zarkonian soldiers, human engineers helping rebuild destroyed cities, human teachers sharing knowledge freely. "We thought war was about conquest," Rektal continued. "We were wrong. War is about achieving a goal. The humans' goal was not our destruction. It was our transformation, and they succeeded. Back on Earth, things had changed too. The monuments to peace were still draped in black fabric, but now they had new plaques. Memorial walls listing the 40 million dead, reminders of the cost of that hard lesson. Emma was 15 now, a young woman preparing for her trials. All humans underwent trials at 16, a tradition established after the war. They had to prove they understood both peace and war, creation and destruction, mercy and justice. She stood with her class at the Museum of Humanity, looking at exhibits that showed their history. The ancient wars, the weapons they had created, the atrocities they had committed against each other. Why preserve this? A classmate asked their guide, a veteran named Colonel Martinez. Why not destroy it and forget? Because forgetting leads to repetition, Martinez replied. Every human must understand what we are capable of. The good requires the bad as context. You cannot appreciate peace if you don't understand war. But it's horrible, the classmate insisted. Yes, Martinez agreed. It is, that's the point. You should be horrified. You should feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is what keeps you human. The day you can look at this and feel nothing is the day you become dangerous. Emma thought about her mother, who had returned from the war different, quieter, more careful with her words. She understood now. Her mother had activated instincts that were meant to stay dormant. She had become something humanity had tried to leave behind, and it had cost her something. In the Galactic Council chambers, everything was different. New laws governed warfare. The Terran protocols written by humans but signed by all species. Rules about proportional response. Protection of civilians. Treatment of prisoners. Limitations on weapons. Some species complained that the rules were too restrictive. But the humans had been clear. Follow the rules, or face human enforcement. Ambassador Sarah Chen, now elderly but still serving, addressed a gathering of young diplomats from across the galaxy. You were born after the war, she told them. You know humanity only as the Guardians. But you must understand, we did not seek this role. It was forced upon us, a young Morthian asked. Do you regret what happened? Sarah was quiet for a moment. I regret the deaths. I regret the necessity. But I do not regret showing the galaxy what humans are, because now everyone knows. There is no room for misunderstanding. But doesn't that make species fear you? Yes, Sarah admitted. But fear isn't always bad. It's honest. It's clear. We tried being just peaceful and friendly, and it led to 40 million deaths. Now we are peaceful and friendly, but everyone knows what lies beneath, and that knowledge prevents conflict. In the outer reaches of the galaxy, a new threat had emerged. The Krull swarm, a hive-mind species that consumed worlds, was expanding towards civilized space. Hundreds of Council species faced extinction. The Council held an emergency session. For days they debated. Armies from different species couldn't coordinate. Their weapons were incompatible. Their tactics contradicted each other. Finally, a ticket delegate stood. Scree, the resistance leader that humans had trained, now represented her people in the Council. We need the humans, she said simply. The chamber fell silent. They taught my people to fight when we thought we were too weak. They showed the galaxy how war should be waged. If anyone can stop the Krull, it's them. One by one, other species agreed. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, the Council formally requested human military intervention. Admiral Marcus Stone, now nearly 200 years old, came out of retirement again. He stood before the Council with Colonel Okafor, now a general, and other human military leaders. We will help, Stone said, but under our conditions. Human command, human tactics, human rules. You want us to fight for you? Then you accept that we do it our way. Whatever you need, the Council President replied. Stone nodded slowly. Understand what you're asking. You're asking us to become what we tried to leave behind, to activate instincts we hoped would stay dormant, to teach the entire galaxy what we showed the Zarkonians. We understand, the President said, and we're sorry it's necessary. So are we. The human fleets mobilized again, but this time they weren't alone. Zarkonian ships rebuilt and redesigned for defense joined them. Ticket soldiers trained by humans volunteered. Even the Sesset, shamed by their betrayal 5 years ago, sent support vessels. The war against the Krull lasted 2 years. It was brutal, ugly, necessary. Humans led the galactic forces with a mixture of mercy and ruthlessness that the galaxy had learned to expect from them. When it was over, the Krull swarm was pushed back to its original space, contained but not destroyed. Humans had learned that sometimes enemies were needed as reminders. Emma, now 18 and a junior officer, served in the final battle. She activated instincts she had trained but hoped never to use. She made decisions that would haunt her dreams. She became what her species needed her to be. When she returned home, her mother held her as she cried. Does it ever get easier? Emma asked. No, her mother replied. That's how you know you're still human. In the years that followed, humanity's role in the galaxy became clear. They were the guardians of last resort. The species called upon when peace failed. The warriors who fought so others didn't have to. Young humans were raised understanding this burden. They studied art and music, philosophy and science. But they also studied tactics and strategy, warfare and violence. They were trained to be whole humans, capable of beauty and brutality, creation and destruction, peace and war. Admiral Stone gave his final speech before retiring permanently. He stood before a gathering of human and alien soldiers, his voice strong despite his age. "We are the guardians," he said. "Not because we want to be, not because we're proud of it, but because we understand what others don't. We know that peace is fragile, that civilization requires protection, that sometimes the only way to preserve life is to be willing to take it." He paused, looking at the young faces before him. "But never forget this. War is not glorious. It is not noble. It is a failure. Every time we fight, it means diplomacy failed. It means peace wasn't enough. It means someone made the wrong choice. Our job is to be ready for when that happens. But our hope is that it never does. We carry this burden so others don't have to. We remember what humanity was so we can protect what it became. We master violence so we can choose peace. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us guardians." The speech ended. The soldiers saluted. And across the galaxy on thousands of worlds, people of hundreds of species slept safely, protected by beings they feared but trusted, by warriors who chose peace, by humans. The universe still shivered at the thought of human anger. The galaxy still trembled at the memory of human war. But they also knew that those same humans would stand between them and darkness, would fight so others didn't have to, would carry burdens too heavy for others to bear. Ambassador Sarah Chen, in her final days, wrote a message for future generations. It was placed in the human historical archives, meant to be read by those who came after. "We showed the galaxy what we are," she wrote, "both the light and the dark, the beautiful and the terrible. We cannot undo that revelation, but perhaps that's for the best. Let the galaxy know that humanity contains multitudes. Let them understand that the most dangerous beings are those who choose restraint, not those who lack capacity. Let the universe shiver, let the galaxy tremble, but let them also know that the hands that can destroy are the same hands that will protect, that the species capable of the greatest violence is also capable of the greatest love. We are human. We are guardians. We are teachers and students, warriors and peacemakers, destroyers and creators. We are all of it, always, forever. And that is our gift to the galaxy.